I never imagined my life would change because of spilled coffee. It was a Thursday morning, and I was rushing through the lobby of the Hanseong Group headquarters, not because I belonged there, but because I'd taken a shortcut to avoid being late to my own mediocre job at the convenience store 3 blocks away. My worn sneakers squeaked against the marble floors as I clutched my thermos, weaving between people in expensive suits who looked at me like I was dirt on their shoes. That's when I collided with him. The child couldn't have been more than 7 years old, small and delicate with dark hair falling into his eyes. My coffee splashed across his pristine white uniform blazer, and my heart stopped. The fabric probably cost more than my monthly rent. "I'm so sorry." I dropped to my knees, frantically dabbing at the stain with my sleeve, making it worse. "Please, I'll pay for the cleaning aisle." "It's okay," the boy whispered, and when I looked up, I saw tears pooling in his eyes. Not from the coffee, it hadn't been hot enough to burn, but from something deeper. Something that made my Omega instincts scream in distress. "Are you hurt?" I asked gently, forgetting about the ruined blazer. He shook his head, but his lip trembled. "I don't want to go to school. Everyone hates me there because of father." My chest tightened. I recognized that loneliness. I'd lived it my entire life as an Omega in a world that treated us as second-class citizens. Before I could respond, a little girl, perhaps 5 years old, appeared from behind a marble column. She had the same delicate features, the same sadness in her eyes. "Minjun won't stop crying at night," she said matter-of-factly, looking at me with unsettling directness. "The new nanny quit yesterday. The one before lasted 3 days. Sora, we're not supposed to talk to strangers," the boy Minjun whispered. "But they all leave anyway," Sora continued, ignoring him. "They're scared of father." The temperature in the lobby seemed to drop 10 degrees. I felt it before I saw him, a suffocating pressure that made my Omega instincts scream danger. The crowd parted like water, and he appeared. Kang Jihoon. I recognized him from news articles, always photographed looking cold and untouchable. The nation's most powerful alpha, CEO of Hanseong Group, politician, and apparently terrible father based on what I was witnessing. He was tall, devastatingly handsome in a way that felt threatening, with sharp eyes that could cut through steel. Those eyes landed on me, kneeling on his lobby floor with coffee-stained hands on his son's blazer. "Who are you?" His voice was deep, controlled, and utterly terrifying. I scrambled to my feet, my Omega biology making me want to bare my throat in submission. I hated that instinct. "I'm nobody." I accidentally, "The coffee, I'm so sorry." "Father, it wasn't their fault," Minjun said quickly, stepping slightly in front of me. The protective gesture from such a small child made something in my chest crack. Jihoon's expression didn't change, but his gaze shifted to his children. "You're late for school." "I don't want to go," Minjun said, voice barely audible. "That's not optional." "We don't have a nanny anymore," Sora added helpfully. "Mrs. Kim said you're impossible to work for and she'd rather be unemployed." For the first time, I saw a flicker of something cross Jihoon's face. Frustration, perhaps, or exhaustion. His eyes moved back to me, and I felt pinned in place like a butterfly on a board. "You're an Omega." It wasn't a question. "Yes." I answered, confused about why that mattered. "Do you have a criminal record?" "What?" "No." "Current employment?" "I work at a convenience store, but I don't see." "You're hired." He pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. "My assistant will send you the contract details. You start today." My brain short-circuited. "I'm sorry, what?" "My children need a caretaker. You clearly have a nurturing instinct, and they haven't bitten you yet, which is more than I can say for the last 6 candidates." He glanced at his watch, already dismissing me. "The pay is 15 million Korean wons monthly, plus room and board. Non-negotiable." 15 million won. That was more than I made in 6 months. It had to be a joke or a trap or... I don't know anything about childcare. I protested. Neither did the certified professionals I hired, apparently. His tone was cutting. "You have 30 seconds to decide before I leave and you lose this opportunity." I looked down at Minjun and Sora. Two children who'd been abandoned by a parade of caregivers, living with a father who seemed more like an ice sculpture than a parent. Every rational part of my brain screamed this was insane. But Minjun was still standing slightly in front of me, protecting a stranger who'd spilled coffee on him. And Sora was looking at me with desperate hope barely concealed behind her matter-of-fact expression. "I'll do it," I heard myself say. Jihoon nodded once, already walking away. "My driver will collect you at 6 p.m. Bring whatever you need. You'll live in the main house." And just like that, he was gone, leaving me standing in a puddle of spilled coffee with two children and a decision that would change everything. Sora slipped her tiny hand into mine. "Don't leave like the others," she whispered. I squeezed back, having no idea what I'd just agreed to. "I won't." I didn't know then that keeping that promise would be the hardest, and most important, thing I'd ever do. The Kang mansion wasn't a home, it was a museum where children weren't allowed to leave fingerprints. My first week was a disaster. Minjun refused to eat anything I cooked, silently pushing food around his plate while staring at his lap. Sora wouldn't sleep in her own room, instead curling up outside her father's locked office door until I carried her to bed. And Jihoon? He was a ghost, leaving before dawn and returning after the children slept, communicating only through terse text messages. "Minjun has a dentist appointment at 3 p.m. Don't be late. Sora's piano teacher says she won't practice. Handle it. No please. No thank you." Just commands from a man who seemed to forget he had children at all. By the second week, I was ready to quit. I found Minjun hiding in the garden shed, knees pulled to his chest, sobbing so hard he could barely breathe. Hey, I whispered, crawling into the cramped space beside him. "What happened?" "They said," he hiccuped, wiping his nose on his sleeve. "They said Mother left because we weren't good enough. Because Father didn't love us enough to make her stay." My heart shattered. I pulled him into my arms, and for the first time, he didn't resist. "That's not true. Sometimes adults make choices that have nothing to do with how lovable children are. You and Sora are wonderful. Then why does everyone leave?" His voice was so small, so broken. I held him tighter, breathing in his little boy scent of grass and tears. "I'm not leaving. I promised, remember?" That night, I violated every professional boundary. I let Minjun sleep in my room, his small body curled against my side. When Sora found us at midnight, I didn't send her away either. We built a blanket fort, told silly stories, and for the first time since I'd arrived, I heard them laugh. I didn't hear Jihoon come home. Didn't know he was standing in my doorway until I felt that overwhelming alpha presence. I looked up to find him frozen, staring at his children sleeping peacefully in my makeshift fort, something unreadable flickering across his face. "I can explain," I started. "Don't." He turned and walked away, but his voice was rougher than usual. "They seemed to calm. Progress, I thought. Microscopic, but progress." The breakthrough with Jihoon came during a thunderstorm 3 weeks later. Sora was hysterical, screaming about monsters in the thunder. I tried everything. Nightlights, music, warm milk, nothing worked. She cried for her mother, for someone who'd abandoned her, and I felt utterly helpless. Then Jihoon appeared in the doorway, still in his suit, tie loosened. He looked exhausted, and for the first time, human. "Sora," he said quietly, and she immediately reached for him. I expected him to stiffen, to awkwardly pat her head and leave. Instead, he scooped her up with surprising gentleness, pressing his face to her hair. "The thunder can't hurt you. I promise." "But Mother left during a storm," Sora whimpered. "What if you leave too?" His arms tightened around her. "Never." The word was fierce, almost desperate. "I will never leave you. Either of you." He sat in the rocking chair, and I moved to give them privacy, but his eyes caught mine. "Stay." So I did. We stayed up until dawn, taking turns with Sora, and somewhere around 4 a.m., Jihoon actually spoke to me like a person. "Their mother left when Sora was 2, he said, voice hollow. "She couldn't handle the pressure of being with me, the scrutiny, the expectations. She said she felt like she was drowning." He paused. "She wasn't wrong. I destroy everything I touch." That's not true, I said softly. You're just scared. His eyes snapped to mine, sharp and challenging. Scared. Of failing them. Of being like your parents. I've seen the articles about your father. You're so afraid of damaging them that you've convinced yourself staying away is safer. I held his gaze, my Omega instincts screaming at me to back down, but I didn't. They don't need a perfect father. They need you. For a long moment he said nothing. Then, and what do you think they need you for? The question felt loaded, dangerous. To fill the gaps you can't. And you don't resent that? Being hired to love my children? I'm not hired to love them, I whispered. That part just happened. Something shifted in his expression, softened. I've noticed. The air between us felt charged, electric. I became acutely aware of how close we were, how his alpha scent was wrapping around me like smoke. My heart hammered against my ribs. Then Sora stirred and the moment broke. But after that night, everything changed. Jihoon started coming home for dinner. Started asking about the children's day. Started looking at me with an intensity that made my skin burn. One evening, I found Minjun teaching his father a video game, both of them laughing as Jihoon died repeatedly. You're terrible at this, father, Minjun giggled. Clearly I need more practice, Jihoon said, and smiled, actually smiled, and my breath caught because he was devastating when he wasn't frozen. He caught me staring. Held my gaze for a beat too long. My cheeks burned, and I fled to the kitchen. But I couldn't escape. He followed, cornering me by the sink. Thank you, he said quietly, for giving them back to me. You never lost them, I managed. You just forgot how to see them. He stepped closer and my back hit the counter. His hand came up, fingers ghosting along my jaw with surprising tenderness. And what about you? Do I see you? I don't know, I breathed. Do you? Yes. His voice dropped, rough and wanting. More than I should. The kitchen door banged open. Are we having dessert? Sora demanded. Jihoon stepped back immediately, but his eyes promised later. My Omega biology sang with anticipation and terror in equal measure. That night, I lay awake knowing everything had shifted. I wasn't just the hired help anymore. I was falling for him. For all of them. And that was the most dangerous thing I'd ever done. The kiss happened on a Tuesday. I was in Jihoon's study, delivering documents his assistant had dropped off, when he looked up from his desk with that intense gaze that always made my knees weak. Close the door. My heart stuttered. The children are at their music lessons for another hour. He stood, moving around the desk with predatory grace. I need to tell you something. Okay, I whispered, frozen in place. I can't stop thinking about you. The confession was raw, unpolished. Every morning I wake up wanting to see your face. Every night I lie awake remembering how you smell, how you laugh with my children, how you look at me like I'm not a monster. He stopped inches away. Tell me I'm not alone in this. You're not, I breathed. God help me, you're not. He cupped my face with both hands, thumbs brushing my cheekbones with devastating tenderness. Then let me. His lips met mine, and the world exploded into sensation. The kiss was hungry, desperate, months of tension finally breaking free. His alpha scent wrapped around me like a drug, and I melted into him, gripping his shirt like a lifeline. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. Stay, he whispered. Not as an employee. Stay as mine. Yes, I said, and meant it with every fiber of my being. For 3 perfect weeks, I lived in a dream. Jihoon courted me properly, stolen kisses in hallways, flowers appearing on my pillow, his hand finding mine during family movie nights. The children were ecstatic, already calling me their parent, without prompting. We were becoming something real, something whole. Then everything shattered. It started with a phone call. I was making breakfast when Jihoon's face went pale, his knuckles white around his phone. When? He asked sharply. I see. Don't let her pass the gate. What's wrong? I asked as he hung up. Hyojin is here. His voice was flat, dead. The children's mother. The words hit like a physical blow. What? She wants them back. The kitchen tilted. She can't just, after 4 years. She's their biological mother. She has rights. He looked at me and I saw fear in his eyes for the first time. My lawyers are coming. Don't let the children see her yet. Please. The please broke my heart. I kept Minjun and Sora occupied in the playroom while raised voices echoed from Jihoon's study. 2 hours later, he emerged looking like he'd aged 10 years. She claims she's recovered from her postpartum depression. He explained, voice hollow. She has medical documentation, a stable home, a new alpha partner who's wealthy and connected. She's filing for joint custody. Can she do that? My voice cracked. Can she take them? She's their mother. The courts favor Omegas in custody cases. He ran his hands through his hair, destroying its perfect style. My lawyer says we have a fight ahead. But if she proves she's stable? No. The word burst out of me. She doesn't get to leave them, break their hearts, and waltz back in when it's convenient. I know. He pulled me into his arms and I felt him trembling. But I can't lose them. I can't lose any of you. The custody battle began immediately. But worse than the legal nightmare was what happened 3 days later. I was picking up Sora from school when a woman approached me in the parking lot. She was beautiful, elegant Omega with perfect makeup and expensive clothes. Hyojin. So you're the replacement, she said, looking me up and down with disdain. The convenience store worker playing house with my family. They're not your family anymore, I said, keeping my voice steady despite my racing heart. You gave up that right. I was sick. Postpartum depression isn't a choice. Her eyes hardened. But I'm better now and I want my children back. You're just a temporary comfort. A poor Omega hired to warm Jihoon's bed and babysit. The words hit their target. Every insecurity I'd buried came roaring back. That's not. Isn't it? She smiled coldly. You really think someone like Kang Jihoon would choose someone like you? You're convenient. When this novelty wears off, you'll be dismissed like all the others. But my children? They're my blood. I have more claim to them than you ever will. She walked away, leaving me shaking in the parking lot. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her words. When Jihoon reached for me in bed, I pulled away. What's wrong? He asked immediately. Am I just convenient? The question tumbled out. Be honest. Would you even look at me if I wasn't good with your children? His face shuddered. Where is this coming from? Hyojin cornered me today. She said, my voice broke. She said I'm temporary. That I'm just a poor Omega you're using until something better comes along. And you believe her? His voice went cold and I hated it. After everything, you think so little of me, of us? I don't know what to think. Tears spilled over. Look at us, Jihoon. Look at where we come from. You're one of the most powerful alphas in the country, and I'm nobody. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm delusional for thinking this could work. Get out. His voice was ice. I stared at him shocked. What? If you truly believe I'm that shallow, that cruel, then you don't know me at all. Get out. Jihoon. I said leave. I fled to my room, sobbing into my pillow. But the worst came the next morning when Minjun wouldn't look at me at breakfast. Did you hear us fighting? I asked softly. Are you leaving? His voice was small, terrified. Like mother? Like everyone else? No, sweetheart. You're lying. He shoved his plate away, tears streaming. Adults always lie. Father was happy, and now he's not, and it's because you're going to leave us too. He ran from the room. Sora followed without a word, and the look of betrayal in her eyes destroyed me. I found Jihoon in his study, looking as wrecked as I felt. I've ruined everything, I whispered. He didn't disagree. My children's hearts are breaking. Again. I'm sorry. Hyojin got in my head and she's playing you. Playing us both. He finally looked at me. My lawyer discovered something. Hyojin's new alpha partner is running for office. He needs the image of a perfect family. This isn't about the children, it's about optics. Horror washed over me. She's using them? Yes. But the damage is done. My children think you're leaving. And maybe, his voice cracked, maybe you should, before we all get hurt worse. No, I said firmly. I'm not running. I made a promise. Promises break. He turned away. Everyone leaves eventually. I realized then, I wasn't the only one with trust issues. Hyejin's abandonment had scarred him deeper than I'd known. Then I'll prove you wrong, I said. Even if it takes forever. He said nothing, but I saw his shoulders shake. I reached for him, and this time, he let me hold him while he finally broke. We were both shattered. But maybe, just maybe, we could put each other back together. If it wasn't already too late. The custody hearing was in 3 days, and I was losing my mind. Minjun still barely spoke to me. Sora had built walls I couldn't break through. Kang Jihoon was drowning in legal documents, his face growing more haggard each day. I'd never felt more helpless, more useless. Then, on a gray Wednesday morning, I found Sora sitting on the stairs, clutching a photo album. What are you looking at, sweetheart? I asked gently, sitting beside her. She showed me a picture, Hyejin holding baby Sora, smiling at the camera. I don't remember her, Sora whispered. Is that bad? That I don't want her to come back. My throat tightened. No, honey. It's not bad. Minjun says we should give her a chance. That maybe she really loves us now. Her small voice cracked. But I already have a parent. I have you. I pulled her into my arms as she sobbed. I'm not going anywhere. I promise. But what if the judge says you have to? She looked up at me with devastated eyes. What if they make you leave? I had no answer. Because she was right, I had no legal claim to these children. No matter how much I loved them. That night, I made a decision. I found Jihoon in his study, surrounded by case files. I need to testify at the hearing. He looked up sharply. Absolutely not. My lawyers advise. I don't care what they advise. I planted my hands on his desk. Those children deserve someone fighting for them who actually loves them. Let me speak. Hyejin's lawyer will destroy you on the stand. They'll paint you as a homewrecker, as someone with no legal standing. Then let them. My voice rose. I'd rather be destroyed defending this family than stay silent and lose you all. Something fierce and possessive flashed in his eyes. He stood, rounding the desk to cup my face. You're sure? I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed me then, deep and claiming. I don't deserve you. Too bad, I whispered against his lips. You're stuck with me. The courtroom was cold and intimidating. Hyejin sat with her perfectly groomed alpha partner, looking every inch the reformed mother. I felt like an imposter in my borrowed suit. Jihoon's lawyer presented his case first, documents proving Hyejin's abandonment, medical records showing she'd made no effort to contact the children in 4 years, evidence of the children's stability in their current home. Then Hyejin's lawyer stood. My client was suffering from severe postpartum depression, a medical condition that temporarily impaired her judgment. She's since recovered and wishes to rebuild her relationship with her children. These children deserve their mother. The judge looked sympathetic. My heart sank. Then came the twist I never expected. Your Honor, Minjun's small voice rang out from the gallery. I have something to say. The courtroom erupted. The judge banged her gavel. Young man. Please, Minjun begged, standing with Sora clutching his hand. Please let me talk about my parent. Jihoon looked stricken. His lawyer frantically whispered objections. But the judge, surprisingly, nodded. Approach the bench, child. I watched, heart in my throat, as Minjun walked forward with the kind of bravery that made my chest ache. Sora followed, and together they stood before the judge. I'm 8 years old, Minjun said clearly. I remember when my mother left. I remember crying every night. I remember father trying so hard but not knowing how to help us. His voice wavered but held strong. Then we met our real parent. The one who holds us when we have nightmares. Who knows Sora likes her sandwiches cut in triangles and that I can't sleep without my nightlight. Who makes father smile for the first time in forever. Minjun, Hyejin started, tears streaming. I'm not finished. His voice cracked. You left us. Maybe you were sick, and I'm sorry about that. But you left us and they stayed. They chose us every single day. That's what makes someone a parent. Sora stepped forward, her tiny voice clear. I don't remember you. But I remember them. They're my parent. Please don't take them away. The judge was quiet for a long moment. Children, return to your seats. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Those brave, beautiful children had just exposed themselves to protect me. The judge reviewed her papers, then looked directly at Hyejin. Mrs. Lee, I sympathize with your struggle with postpartum depression. However, you made no attempt to contact your children for 4 years. No phone calls, no letters, no supervised visits. This sudden custody request coincides suspiciously with your partner's political campaign. Hyejin's lawyer stood. Your Honor, I'm not finished. The judge's voice was steel. These children have clearly bonded with their current caregiver. They are thriving, stable, and loved. While I cannot terminate your parental rights without further proceedings, I am denying your custody request. You may apply for supervised visitation in 6 months, pending psychological evaluation. The gavel banged. Case dismissed. The courtroom exploded. Hyejin was crying, her partner already ushering her away, clearly more concerned with damage control than her grief. But I didn't care about them. I only cared about the 2 children racing toward me, crashing into my arms with enough force to knock me backward. I held them as they sobbed, as Jihoon wrapped around all of us, creating a shield against the world. I'm sorry, I whispered into their hair. I'm so sorry I made you doubt me. Don't leave, Minjun begged. Please don't ever leave. Never, I promised. You're stuck with me forever. Good, Sora said fiercely. That night, after the children finally fell asleep, in their own beds this time, secure and peaceful, Jihoon found me on the terrace. He dropped to one knee. I'm not good with words, he said roughly, pulling out a small velvet box. I'm broken and difficult and I'll probably mess this up 1,000 times. But you've given me back my life. My children. Myself. He opened the box, revealing a simple, perfect ring. Marry me. Not because it makes legal sense, though it does. But because I love you. Because I want forever with you. Yes. I didn't hesitate. Yes, yes, yes. He slid the ring on my finger and kissed me like I was oxygen and he was drowning. 6 months later, we stood in a small garden ceremony. Minjun and Sora served as ring bearers, their smiles bright enough to rival the sun. When the officiant asked if anyone objected, Sora shouted, If you object, you're not invited to my birthday party. The guests laughed. Jihoon smiled, that rare, genuine smile I'd grown to cherish. And as we sealed our vows with a kiss, I realized something profound. I'd come to this family by accident. Spilled coffee and desperation and dumb luck. But I stayed by choice. Their choice and mine. And that made all the difference.